Hello all, welcome back to Editorial Analysis and Answer Writing Practice at 9 p.m. Friends, if you're watching this video series for the first time, then please watch my intro video given in the playlist to know how to participate in this answer writing initiative. This is open to all, everyone can participate. Right. Last year, government appointed a commission under the chairmanship of former President Ramnath Kovind to look into the possibility of having a one nation, one election in India. The commission has submitted the report, and why it was in news? The cabinet has given approval for having this one nation, one election. In this backdrop, various newspapers was carrying editorial analysis, and we will also discuss this topic from our exam point of view. First, we will understand what is one nation, one election. Very simple, as the name says, there will be one election for the entire nation. So we will be having simultaneous elections for Parliament, for state legislative assemblies, as well as local bodies. So parallelly at three levels, we will be having elections. See, this idea or this practice is not new. Okay, the practice was a historical coincidence after the independence from 1950s till 1967. There was simultaneous elections for Parliament as well as state legislatures. Then after 1967, because of the various state governments was getting dissolved in a premature time period, because of which there was a change in this election coincidence between the center as well as state. So the state and center having simultaneous election was practiced in India long ago. So it is not something which is impossible. Keep that in mind. Okay. Number two, not in the history of independent India, we had three levels of elections simultaneously held. That is, state and center, there were simultaneous elections. But between state, center, as well as the local bodies, there was no simultaneous elections, which is something new, which we have to see how it is going to be implemented. And the idea of simultaneous elections is also not new. In 1980s, only Election Commission recommended, by citing various reasons, they recommended that we should have simultaneous elections. Various parliamentary standing committees also recommended that we should have simultaneous elections. So now we will discuss the need for having simultaneous elections. See, number one is, look at the amount of money spent in conducting the elections. There is going to be there is one parliamentary election once in 5 years, and every state will be facing the state elections as well as the local body elections. So on an average, every 6 months, either one part of the state or other state or local bodies is having elections. Every year, the country is in election mode only. So because of this, government's expenditure in conducting the election is also becoming costlier. The political party spending money on this election is also becoming more expensive. For example, the latest 2024 general elections, the political parties put together, they were spending close to 1.35 lakh crores. Right? All the political parties, they spent almost 1.35 lakh crores. During that sudden election period, that much money supply, if it is pumped in, think about the impact on the economy, think about the impact on the inflation. So there is a different level of consequences. We will discuss that later. But point number one is, a lot of money is being spent. Government is also finding difficult to spend the elections. The political parties also, they are actually forced to spend a lot of money at different part of the year in conducting various or in participating in various elections. This is number one. Number two, there is policy paralysis. Whenever the election commission announces the election date, then the government cannot announce new policy measures. So just now I said, every year there is election. Every 6 months there is election. Every time model code of conduct will come. Every time if the government is not able to announce new policy, the continuity of policies is going to get affected. A long-term vision in designing the policy will be getting affected. So there will be policy paralysis, right? Then think about the armed forces. What is the role of armed force? To ensure protection. Right? Police force, they have a specific task to be performed. Paramilitary forces, they have specific tasks to be performed. Military, they have specific tasks to be performed. Now, all these forces we make use of in organizing elections. So, we distract the armed forces from performing their actually allocated tasks. There is another problem. Now, where these elections are held? These elections are held in Schools, predominantly government schools. Okay. So in that case, what happens? Those schools has to be get ready. So we have to declare public holidays, and lot of teachers are involved in conducting this election process. They are involved in the counting process. The teachers are intended to perform their teaching task, but we are distracting them and we are asking them to perform election duties. This is going to affect the learning continuity, right? More money is spent, policy paralysis, a lot of distractions of the government officials in performing their actually allocated functions. And also, this frequent elections is creating a lot of hate speech. Yes or no? This is affecting the communal harmony. More number of elections, more number of hate speech that affects the communal harmony, that affects the law and order stability in the country. And also, it is believed that if there is going to be only one election in 5 years, then the voter turnout can also significantly increase. So these are the points, the positive points, the advantages which are being noted for, or these are the points that are being argued for having a common election for the entire nation. But however, there are some opponents also. There are some opponents for this idea. So what is their viewpoint? We will try to understand. See, number one, this is a logistical nightmare. Conducting an election for at 3 levels for a country like India, length and breadth is going to be very, very challenging. Think about the number of EVM machines required. If there is some EVM tampering, that's all. The trust on the democracy will be defeated. So we have to ensure we should have proper technological support. We should have sufficient number of EVMs that has to be properly transported, protected, stored. Logistical conducting is going to be a logistical nightmare. Right. What are the other challenges? See, if you are going to have a common election for center, state, as well as the local bodies, now what happens? The central political parties, the national political parties are more powerful, we have to accept. They have more money, they have more power. So when they are going to come and fight in the elections, then their visibility is going to be high. The local party's visibility will be masked. Even the central issues will be more discussed. The state issues, the local issues will be masked. Right? The proper attention for a true representative democracy will be affected. Small political parties, how they can come and compete with the big national parties? How the small issues will be taken into attention? Even the media is going to focus on the larger issues. So this is going to be another challenge. And also, think about the confusion which it can create for the voters. So assume I go to the election booth. So I see a separate electronic voting machine for choosing an MP. I see a separate electronic voting machine for choosing an MLA. Right? In that case, I might get confused. People vote basically through symbols. Okay, not everyone is going to remember the name. Largely it is about symbols. There can be some confusion. I might choose wrong person, or I might choose same political party at central level and state level. Again, this can go against a proper representative democracy. Right? So these are other challenges. And apart from that, see, when we have more number of elections, the politicians will frequently come to visit the doors of the citizens, doors of the voters. So it is an opportunity for the voters to hold the politicians accountable for their actions which they have done previously. Or what happens, only once in 5 years they are going to come and visit you, then you cannot hold them accountable in between. So when there is different elections, you can easily hold them accountable, right? So having a common election, one nation, one election, that can defeat this, right? So all these are the issues which are being highlighted by the opponents, and also this is going to be challenging. Why it is going to be challenging? Now just assume Mr. Ramnath Kovind have recommended everything by keeping one nation, one election from 2029 only. Okay, let's assume that in 29 there is one nation, one election. Now after 29, if some state government dissolves in between, if parliament only is getting dissolved, then what will happen? All these are challenging scenarios, right? But however, all these challenges, even the Ramnath Kovind's commission is going to be more aware of. So the commission, they took into account of all these aspects. The commission has given a solution also. Assume that in 2029 there is going to be common elections. Great. Now, if any state or parliament gets dissolved without completing that 5 years, assume in 2 years a state government got dissolved, or in 2 years parliament got dissolved. In that case, the newly electing government will stay in power only for the remainder term, only for the remaining 3 years. Don't think that the newly elected government will have a 5-year tenure. No. Right. So in 2029, we are going for election. Assume that in 2031, a state government gets dissolved. Then a new government will come to power in the same year, but they will continue only for 3 years and they will not continue for 5 years. And also we were discussing about the local issues getting masked. So what is the suggestion given by the commission? The commission said only the MP election and the MLA election, the parliament election and the state assembly elections will be conducted simultaneously. After finishing this election, after 100 days from the election, local body election will be conducted. So only after 100 days local body election is going to come. So in the local body issues only, the local issues are being largely taken into account. So that will not be masked. The small political parties, their visibility will not be masked. Okay. Only center as well as state will be having simultaneous election. See, simultaneous election means don't think in one single day everything is going to happen. In a phased manner, in a time period, it is going to happen. At the same time, for local body elections, that election will be conducted only after 100 years only after 100 days of completing the regular election, simultaneous election for center as well as state. So this problem is also addressed. Though the commission has given a solution for all the major issues, it is still going to be very challenging because this requires constitutional amendment. This requires the acceptance from the states. This requires amendment of Representation of People's Act. This requires political will. The current central government is a coalition government. Right? The coalition political parties, they have to agree for this one nation, one election. Right? Now, there are many, assume that in 2029, we are going to have this one nation, one election. There are many governments, their term will be coming, state governments, their term might come to an end by 2027. If you are going to conduct election simultaneous election for 2029, will you extend that state government's term? Are you able to understand? Assume take Tamil Nadu government. Tamil Nadu government will go for election in 2026. Okay. But in 2029, we will be having another election. Now, what logically we can do is extend the term of Tamil Nadu government till 2029 or conduct an election in 2026 and have a government only for the remainder term period till 2029. Do you think all these are practically possible? I'm not saying it is impossible, but this requires a lot of political will. Sometimes extension of the existing state government is required. Sometimes assume that a state government goes for election in the year 2027. Okay, and that state government, that particular government, if they stays in power only for 2 years, do you think that they will agree for this? So having a common election in 2029 requires a lot of political will, given the coalition situation. Whether this is going to be a possibility, which we have to wait and watch. Tell me, what is your opinion? Right? Of course, there's a need for having a simultaneous election. Of course, there are genuine concerns in conducting this one nation, one election. But apart from the need and the concerns, whether it is going to be practical, I'm not saying it is impossible, but political will is seriously required. Tell me, what is your opinion in the comment section? Anyhow, from our exam point of view, we have discussed. I will also give you a question. While the concept of one nation, one election holds considerable merit, the path to its implementation is fraught with challenges. Discuss. This will be a 15-marker question, so you plan your answer accordingly. Right, friends, I will see you tomorrow with another interesting editorial analysis. Till then, bye. Take care.